I have probably one of the biggest Pro Tools setups you've ever seen. I have every card filled. We have the most massive, sound processing power you can imagine. I have every good mic pre in the history of classic mic pre's.
What's your favorite one?
I like Neves and APIs, basically. I just like that they're punchy. And I have some old Neves, I have some new or newer ones. We have some of the classic sort of, the 550 line of API stuff. And they're always ending up on the real hardcore stuff like kicks, snares, guitars, bass. I have a lot of drum miking techniques that I really like to use, and we use a lot of the classic mics, and but we always are using some of the best of the old and the best of the new. So I do use a lot of plugins, and at the same time I have tons of outboard gear. I mean, we have a couple of great Presto compressors which I really like, and we use all the normal stuff that you could imagine. But I really like this thing called the BL40 modulimiter, which is an old Uri kind of super compressor. And of course, the Presto was from the 50s, which was a lathe cutting compressor that helped. I believe it helped make it kind of sounds like Led Zeppelin. You put it on the drums, and because the needle had to cut into a lacquer. It needed to, the low end, the low end would have to move into that, really help the needle move and cut into the groove, right? So the Presto compressor has this low end curve on it to compensate for it going into the lacquer. So now, in the modern day, if you take a stereo or mono room sound of drums, put it through the Presto, all of a sudden, the drums just blow up. It's fantastic. So, I've got a whole bunch of tricks like that. But tricks aren't really, I think tricks are best discovered on your own. I mean, I can give you all my tricks, but the trick to them is when to do it, when and how to apply it, and that's when you really use your ears. I'm in love with the Marshall. The Marshall 800, by the way, the Marshall, right now, a JCM 800, like one of those ones from like the late 70s. Early 80s, I think is a fantastic machine. No matter what guitars you've already recorded, if you take a Les Paul and this JCM 800, it will cut through anything. And that is a really just useful sound. It's just, and pretty much anytime I've plugged that in, everybody goes, God, that's a great sound. The other one I have, there's another Marshall I have, which is basically called the Dookie Head, because it's the one that made that record. And I still have that original one. There's clones. Billy has a couple of clones, and I have a clone too. But the original one I still have is just so, actually kind of for, I don't know what reason, but about 10 years ago, the transformer on it went, and I let it sit. And then about 2 or 3 years ago, I got it fixed, and I turned it on again, and I was like, oh my God, this thing is awesome. You know what I like? I always like when drums have character. There's a few drum manufacturers out there that no matter which drum kit you're sitting behind, it sounds the same. And it sounds good, but I've heard that sound. I'm always looking for character in the drums. Something where, especially the toms, have a lot of crack to them, a lot of expressiveness. If you hit them in the middle, they sound warm. If you hit them harder and a little more on the edge, you get a little more pop to them. Favorite drum sound? Well, John Bonham. Yeah, Led Zeppelin. He has the best drum sound, no doubt.
Of all time.
Of all time. I don't think anybody's ever touched it, actually. It's hard to even go there. I mean, I've actually set up drums and said, I'm going to get the John Bonham drum sound. And I tell you, I've come really close. But then you don't use it. You can't use it. I can't use it. You can't put, I mean, I could use it if the band was as good as Led Zeppelin and the songwriting called for that drum sound, then we would use it. But there hasn't been another Led Zeppelin, so then we don't use it. Telefunken 251. It's basically the Beatles vocal mic. I just find it to be real bright and present, and it makes everybody sound like they're just popping right out of the speakers, and it's real musical sounding. It's not harsh. It's a great mic. We just end up using that one, it seems, more than any others. There's definitely some other ones, but that's it. You know, mastering can help a lot. Mastering can really help a lot because if the idea is that you're creating music on it and you're trying to get the frequencies to come through and you're trying to have people hear what it is that you're doing, mastering can truly first of all, make the music on the CD be basically, 3 to 4 times louder, and then let's say you have created some magic on your performance, it'll pop out of the speakers better, and then people will hear it. They might have a better chance of understanding it.
Perfect. Well, we'll get you back in to finish up the shoot.
All right.
That was awesome.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Thanks.